shout out to Kathy McNichol, one of the, I guess, the founder of Loudon Inspire. We worked with her out in Loudon. She's great. She's full of energy. She's a great communicator too. She has a great Facebook group. That's another way to keep in touch with people. We thought one of our final recommendation was a suburban, an RPV, Republican Party of Virginia, Suburban Advisory Committee. This is just an idea. Jack, are you in the room somewhere? But we thought suburban unit chairs could get together and have it. I don't know, we haven't thought through the composition of this, but I think it's really helpful. I mean, the suburban areas of Virginia have so much in common despite their geographical, distance. And for people to share their ideas in those different areas, like we are trying to do here, I think would be very, very helpful. So that's something that we recommend to the department. We can help.
And on that note, a lot of this work is region-wide. We are a region-wide PAC. We work from everything from inside the Beltway, Arlington and Alexandria, all the way out to Loudon, Prince William, and everything in between, Fairfax, Falls Church, etc., from Fairfax City, Fairfax County. And so, we think that a lot of this polling, a lot of this issue identification is, I'm sorry.
As it's wrapping up, this is how you can get our report if you don't have a copy.
Yes, so we think that the committee can really coordinate a lot of this, candidate development. We think that the party can coordinate a lot of this, a lot of the polling, a lot of these issues. I mean, in the end, our goal is to have best candidates, the best prepared candidates who really know their suburbs, who really know their area, who can communicate on social media, who can communicate physically, face to face, in all these ways, and a very, very robust party that's helping them with all these things, and in some ways is taking the lead on all these things, because suburbanites really are communicating, talking about these issues, and approaching that in these different ways. So that's, our report covers in detail all the results and the numbers, etc. And you can get a copy, you can download it, you can email us on your response, or what you think. We've gotten feedback. We would love to hear that. So with that, I think we're going to give DJ. DJ is going to talk about his outreach efforts, and he's been very active in outreach, and he's really an expert on this. So DJ.
Thank you. My name is DJ George. I'm from Prince William County, Woodbridge specifically. And before I start, I just want to apologize to everybody who might have seen my lip sync performance last night. I tried to do Michael Jackson Beat It. It was horrendous. It was bad. But practice would have helped a lot. But anyway, I just want to thank Jack Wilson for being here as the chair of the Republican Party of Virginia. He's taken leadership in, number one, listening first. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that we would encourage you to take away from this, is to actually listen to voters and see where they're at. Sometimes we're conservative, and we have people in this room who have different policy issues that energizes more than others, but we believe that a conservative perspective to each of these policy issues will actually help all people, no matter where they come from, no matter the color of their skin, no matter where they live. And that is the biggest thing that we encourage, but oftentimes we have to listen to our communities to see what their biggest issue is. And so that's one thing that Mike and his team have done a fantastic job. In certain communities, their number one issue is traffic. So we have to apply conservative principles to traffic in their region. In some areas in this area of our state, the number one issue is education. We have to apply conservative solutions to education in that area. So I want to start with a quick story, and I'll be done so we can take questions in a few minutes. I was invited, I was the vice chairman of the Prince William Republican Committee for 4 years. My term ended about a year ago. But Prince William County is a really unique place. It's the second largest county in Virginia. It's a majority county, meaning there's more minorities than there are Caucasians. And so we have certain communities that the minority population is going to be as high as 70 to 90%. Areas of Dumfries and Dale City and parts of Lake Ridge and things like that. I was invited to speak at a middle school in Dale City 2 years ago, specifically Bevel Middle School. And if you know anything about Prince William County, this is in Dale City, right off of Dale Boulevard. The community is about 85% minority, high, low-income population. I was invited to speak along with the Democrat chairman. He came the week before, I came the week after, and we were going to talk to 8th graders about politics and what our party was all about. And so, eighth graders can be a tough crowd, and normally they're pretty clueless, but you should have seen the faces of these kids when they saw me coming to talk about the Republican Party. And I started out explaining the history of our party. And I said, you all know the history. In the 1850s, our party was started primarily to end slavery. From the very beginning of our party, we were about human freedom, human dignity, and human potential. And the looks that I got from these kids, it was hilarious. It was great. It was a great reminder to me that not everybody had heard our story. They have not heard why our party exists. They have not heard why we believe in the various things that we believe in. And so a lot of what I've done as vice chair and a lot of what a lot of people have done across the state when it comes to outreach is really telling our story, what we're about, and so on and so on. So I've created a short little flyer. Many of you may have gotten in the room, and I want to talk real quickly about the trends. Talking about suburban voters in Virginia, one of the reasons that it is trending away from us is because a lot of minority groups, populations are growing like crazy in our suburbs, specifically in Virginia. The heaviest populations of minority voters are number 1, Northern Virginia, number 2, Tidewater, here in Hampton Roads, Virginia, number 3, Richmond area, and then I'm also going to separate Petersburg. Petersburg has a very, very heavy minority population. And then your second and third tier are going to be Charlottesville, and Roanoke and Harrisonburg. But those populations are skyrocketing in those areas. And in a lot of rural areas in our state, we don't have a lot of minority growth there. So the unit chairs in this room and people who work specifically in the suburban counties in that region, this is something that many of you are already doing, but I would encourage you to devote more resources to that. Look at the trends real quick. On the minority population in 2010 in Virginia, 68.5% was Caucasian. 7 years later, that number is down to 61.9% of our overall population. We've seen tremendous growth, especially in Latino and Asian American communities. African American population ratio has been steady, right around 19-20%. But here's the thing that I really want you to pay attention to is the electorate. If you look at the 2009 governor race versus last year's governor race, we saw a growth of the minority percentage of the electorate go from 22% to 33% of the vote. That's tremendous. That's a huge leap. And I think that a lot of our candidates have done some good things, and we need to keep on pushing even more. Although Gillespie lost, he actually did have a growth in minority population vote, but that just tells you how much the overall minority population has skyrocketed so much. Cuccinelli won, for example, the African American vote. Cuccinelli won 8% of the vote. Ed Gillespie won 12% of the black vote. He actually increased it. But the overall percentage of the electorate was so large, it was insurmountable. And there's, of course, a lot of other factors to that as well. So that's number 1, the trends in Virginia, population and percentage of the electorate. And then the last thing, I'm going to talk about 3 specific takeaways and things that you can do in your suburban community in order to engage minority voters. And I'll stop. But just want to remind everybody the phrase, people don't know how much you know until they
know how much you care.
Bingo. A lot of times, minority voters are learning about the Republican Party from the media, or they're learning about it, some meme that they saw on social media, and oftentimes they don't come in contact with the and it's on us to change that. We have to reach out. We have to tell our story. And here are 3 ways to do it. Number 1, you can attend cultural festivals and events and set up Republican booths. In Northern Virginia, Diwali festivals are a really, really big deal. A lot of our candidates, including Pat Harity, who's in this room, supervisor, he lives at those things and they know who he is. I've heard Indian American voters in Virginia say, I don't like the Republican Party, but I like Pat Harity. I don't like the Republican Party, I don't like this person, but I like Sandy Yee. And so that is how we start to improve our standing in suburban voters by going to those places. Hispanic festivals, Filipino festivals, Vietnamese events, so on and so on. Number two, engage churches and faith leaders. Minority voters are very, very religious. They're very, even more so than a lot of other populations across America, especially African Americans, especially Latino. And if you would sit down with a good bit of these voters, you would find that we're more aligned, especially on social issues like religious freedom, like life, like family. And it's important for us to actually be there to explain our position on all those things and to engage them on this, especially faith leaders, pastors, rabbis, Catholic priests, so on and so on. And then number three is more just community service, but strategically doing it in areas of our suburbs where we know we have a high minority population. We've been doing back-to-school supply drives in Prince William County for 4 years, and it's been extremely successful. Fauquier County just did not a back-to-school supply drive, but a service project for collecting food for a local food bank, and they have a huge collection of food and things for the homeless in their community. And people kind of asked them, Republicans, y'all care about the homeless? And they were able to say, no, we care very deeply about the homeless. Now, just because we oppose the new government program doesn't mean that we oppose them. We actually believe that that new government program, that new government welfare may actually hurt them more. And so we believe in private sector solutions. We believe in civic groups helping out. We believe in stronger families. We believe in prevention. All of these things they were able to talk about because they were able to get their attention first by doing this service project. So I'll end with this. Based on what I've seen and where I live in Prince William County, I've been able to learn a lot about the policy issues that minority communities care about. They're going to be different in each of our communities. I need to stress that. They're going to be different in Chesapeake compared to Henrico County, compared to Loudoun County, and so on. Learn what those issues are. In Prince William County, education, jobs closer to home, religious freedom, believe it or not, are the three biggest issues that we hear about in minority communities at the doors. So I'm actually going to be running for office next year. I'm running for House of Delegates. I wish I got that applause last night after the lip sync competition. I'm running for House District 31, Scott Lingenfelter's old seat. And I'm going to have a lot of fun engaging with
that'll be a lot of fun.
there, and I think we're gonna win in that seat because we're going to apply a lot of these strategies that they're talking about and we're talking about here. And with that, we want to open up with
Actually, I wanted to add one more thing. Thank you for that kind of segue. If you notice the signs out there next to our Suburban Virginia Republican Coalition signs, you see the signs for Joe May. Because Joe May is our candidate who's running in case you didn't know, there's people not from Northern Virginia. Joe is running in the 33rd State Senate District, which is Jennifer Wexton's seat, the one who defeated Barbara Comstock. So we look at this as an opportunity to perhaps win that back. Anyway, support Joe May if you're Northern Virginia, and support TJ, but thanks.
We love synergy. Yeah, so question.